Hello everyone. Now we'll move to the issues of agriculture. Agriculture over the year it was a very important issue, but in last 2 years, if you will look out the question papers of paper 2, you will find that from the agriculture they are not asking very conventional question. So in agriculture they are mixing it with the industry, they are mixing it with the regional development and planning. The conventional questions of agriculture are not being asked, and it is expected that in future also the same approach will be followed. So it is not that in future you can expect the very basic topics, very basic questions of the agriculture, but lot of issues that India is facing, lot of issues that our country is facing in agriculture is in one way or other is very much associated with some of the basic topics, some of the basic issues that you need to know, So in this session we will try to identify some of the area, some of the topics which are the targeted topics and which we try to have a discussion on that. As far as agriculture is concerned, so if you will look out the topics of agriculture, in general you can say, one is your features, characteristics of agriculture. So here you will have the features of Indian agriculture, the characteristic of Indian agriculture, the different type of farming that we have. So all the issues, like you will have your institutional factors, your fertilizers, your seeds, so irrigation, so all these will be part of this. Then comes your agricultural modernization. So in agricultural modernization you will have the modern methods of agriculture, green revolution, allied activities. So almost all these is being taken care. And the third is your agricultural problems, agricultural issues, something like this. So in general you can divide your whole syllabus of agriculture in these three subheads. So you can divide the syllabus in these three subheads. Over the period of time you will find the more and more emphasis is being given to this part. Earlier agriculture modernization, but now in last 2-3 years the focus is shifting on this part, that is agricultural problem. Because the agriculture should not be viewed as something where your focus is to just identify the issue, identify the problem, but along with this agricultural problem there should be some sort of solutions, that what kind of solutions we have, and that is where most of the questions are being asked. So most of the questions are being asked from that particular topics. Now, in fact, I will start my discussion from this agricultural problems, issues of our country. You must be having a fair enough idea that India, being an agricultural based economy, almost 55% of the people are directly employed in the agriculture, and not only that this number of people employed, but also you will find that but also you will find that our population is continuously increasing. So, in this in the backdrop of continuous rising of the population, food security is a very big issue. So, food security is very important issue. So, food security, then you will have your employment. So, these are two very important aspect around which this our entire agriculture is based on. So, on this two front you need to think. Whenever you will think about the agricultural problem, it can be associated with some of the availability of the food, productivity of the food, costing of that crop, the pricing of that crop, or might be it is associated with the employment issues like farmers' distress. The farmer is not having enough income, the income is not getting generated, there is a crop loss, the particularly a crop is getting lost due to various reasons. So, there can be innumerable issues in case of agriculture, but more or less you will find entire issue of agriculture will revolve around these two lines. So, जब भी आप आंसर लिखेंगे, so always remember that food security and employment are two very important component of agricultural problems. Now, in general, in the present time, what are the different major problems that the agriculture is facing? First of all, agricultural growth is slow. So, agricultural growth is slow. Then, productivity is stagnant or low. So, it is a very important problem. Productivity is stagnant, productivity is low. Then you will have farmers' distress. Obviously, the farmers' distress is very much associated with the productivity is stagnant, low. Low farmers' income. Farmer will also try to maintain the same lifestyle which is maintained by the government employees or anyone. So, definitely there will be lots of they try to take a debt. So, in that case farmers are taking loan. So, almost that is also very problematic, and in case of crop loss, failure, obviously they are not going to repay the loan. So, problem in loan repayment. If the loan repayment will happen, obviously it will result into the farmer's distress, but along with that it will also affect the economy, that is your non-performing assets. So, loan will turn NPA. Now, the question arises that why this crop loss is happening. So, crop loss, crop failure, it can be a natural or man-made. It can be natural or it can be a man-made. In man-made, it can be due to not having credit facility. Credit facility, it is like, let us say the farmers have taken the loan, but he has started the sowing and all those, but after that he has almost spent all the money. Then there can be a unavailability of fertilizers, pesticides, insecticides, so these are the some of the man-made. Then you will have the wrong crop selection, faulty agricultural practices, faulty agricultural practices. In faulty agricultural practices, you need to link up with the agroclimatic regionalization, agroecological regionalization. So broadly, first you need to highlight that the farmer should follow the agroclimatic regionalization, and to a smaller scale, micro scale, the farmer needs to cultivate the agriculture according to the agroecological regionalization. So farmer should follow this, then only he or she can expect that the productivity will be good. Now coming to the natural, so the chances of natural crop failure or crop losses will be more. In natural crop losses, you can say you will have a, let's say, pest attack, like you will have very famous pest attack during the COVID-19. So during the COVID-19, we were having this very famous pest attack. Almost entire Rajasthan, Gujarat, Haryana, UP, it has been affected. Then you will have hazards. In hazards, like you will have the very popularly floods. So lot of area of our country is getting affected by the floods, but also you will have the flash floods, flash droughts. It's a very common. Not only this hazard, untimely rainfall. Now this untimely rainfall is not very uncommon. Untimely rainfall is very common, but there has been long-term shift in that untimely rainfall. So long-term or medium-term shift in this rainfall pattern. Now this long-term shift in the rainfall pattern is associated with what? It is associated with the climate change. Now lot of students used to ask, most of the students will have this perspective, कि sir, if we are writing these pointers, so this is going to be a GS like answers in case of paper 2. First of all, if you will write multiple pointers, it cannot be a GS type of answer. So by writing only 2-3 pointers, you cannot say that I am writing very generalized. Write at least 8 to 10 pointers, and in almost all the pointers that you have written, you can show your geographical knowledge. Whenever you are talking about the rainfall, whenever you are talking about the hazards, flood, flash drought, whenever you are talking about the pest attack, whenever you are talking about the fertilizers, faulty agricultural practices, when you are writing about the agroecological regionalization, then it's a geographical. The examiner will get convinced that you have a very good understanding of the geography. So it doesn't mean that writing the agriculture related questions and you need to just bring the discussion of one Thunens and a different philosopher. No. Now in case of long term shift, you can talk about the climate change, what role this climate change is affecting. Even the climate change is also changing the time period of crop cultivation. We call it a gestation period. So the total period from the sowing to the harvesting, it's also getting impacted, because whenever the temperature is rising, so the temperature is rising, so the gestation period is going down. So let's suppose earlier the rice was supposed to be cultivated, rice was taking around 4 to 4.5 months for complete, you can say for starting from the preparation of the nursery to your harvesting, now it has come down to 3.5. So whatever the requirement of the rice was happening in this, now it is only required in this time period, and out of that, if this around 2 months is without the rainfall, so obviously it is going to have the long term repercussion. So whenever you will look out the problems of farmers, you need to look out from this perspective, then only you can say that you are showing the geographical particularly aspect. Pointers are, see, it is not that the problems you are not aware of, most of the problems you are aware of, but you need to think of 2-3 very important pointers. Whether you are looking out the issues or whether you are looking out the problems, in all the problems, you need to think in 3 different manner. First is your spatial distribution, then you will have temporal distribution, then you will have crop level distribution. How you can show it or how you need to follow this approach, try to understand. Agricultural productivity. Now, whenever agricultural productivity is being talked, in general there is a perception and fact also. India's agricultural productivity, India is having low agricultural productivity, that is fine. Agricultural productivity is simply an assessment of total output of the land. So in a way you can also say this is land productivity, yield per unit area. So generally it is almost measured in terms of land yield per unit area. So this is also the land productivity. So in general, agriculture productivity of our country is low as compared to the some of the developed country, like you will have the country like United Kingdom, then you will have the USA. So some of the Israel. So these are the country where agriculture productivity is very high, but this is a generalized statement. You need to look out this. First of all, agricultural productivity varies from place to place. Like agricultural productivity is high in the regions of Green Revolution, Punjab, Haryana, Western UP. Agricultural productivity is high in case of Kaveri Basin, coastal Andhra Pradesh. Agricultural productivity is high. Agricultural productivity is also different in case of your different cropping season. So different cropping season, like in case of Rabi, Kharif, Agricultural productivity is different. Not only that, it is different in the different time period, but most interestingly, the agricultural productivity is varying at the crop level. If you will look out the agricultural productivity of food grain crops, rice and wheat is having very good agricultural productivity. Almost we have around 3000, 3100 kilogram per hectare productivity in terms of wheat. But when you will look out the productivity of food grain in comparison to the oil seed, so in oil seed the productivity is very low. Hardly it is 1100 kilogram per hectare. And even if you will look out the pulses, so pulses having even lesser than this. So agricultural productivity is varying in different crops, rice, wheat, oil seed, pulses. Now the question arises that why this variable, why this variation within the crop? Because in general our perception is that agricultural productivity is the productive yield per unit area. Yield per unit area is simply here the land, and if the land is being cultivated so obviously if the land is good, its productivity should be high. So in general it appears to most of the candidate and in general popular perception that wherever you will have the good crop, good soil, so agriculture productivity will be high. But we have the best soil in case of West Bengal, in case of Bihar, in case of Eastern UP. But these are the region where you will have agricultural productivity is low. So agricultural productivity is not only associated with the agricultural soil, it is having much more beyond that. In fact, you must be knowing that the prairie region and steppe region happens to be one of the world's intensively cultivated region. So why it is being intensively cultivated? It is not because of the best fertile soil. So the steppe soil, prairie soil, Chernozem soil is not the best fertile soil, but still they have been developed. Why? So it is because of the investment, it is because of the technology, it is because of the government intention. So agricultural productivity is based on these factors. Here what is happening in our country, over the period of time, earlier we were having the issue agricultural production was very low. So agricultural production was very low in the 1950s, 60s. Then we will have the integrated accelerated development program have been launched, and later on that has been turned out to into a green revolution. So at the time of green revolution, rice and wheat has been popularized. When the rice and wheat have been popularized, almost every farmer just got a way out that if you want to have more earning, if you want to increase your earning from the agriculture, the only way out is cultivation of rice and wheat. So most of the farmers, they have shifted to rice and wheat, irrespective of whether the climatic condition is suitable for the cultivation of rice, whether the water is available for the rice or not. So everyone have shifted, and even in the rural area, in most of the part of the country, in general you will have a division of the soil, like you will have alluvial soil in the central part, then you will have the Deccan area, western area, you will have the black soil, and red soil is mostly in the peninsula eastern part. You will have a different type of soil, but within the soil in any particular area, region, there is a variation in the fertility. So some of the soil will be fertile, some of the soil will be less fertile. So not only that, crops have been identified that wheat and rice will be cultivated in this area. It has gone beyond that. Almost the best soil have been dedicated to the cultivation of food grain crops. So rice and wheat became a dominant crop, not only related to the farmer or people, but even at the level of field itself. So at the level of field itself, rice and wheat became a dominant crop. Now if the farmer is having 5-acre land, and out of that 5-acre land, 4 acre is very good, so the farmer will cultivate rice and wheat. The 1-acre land which is infertile, which is supposed to have some of the structural geographical constraint, only in that soil the pulses oil seed will be cultivated. So over the period of time, pulses and oil seed have been become a marginal crop. Now the crop itself has been become a marginal. And if the crop has become marginal, so how you can expect the particularly the higher productivity. So from the marginal, if you are cultivating the crops on the marginal land, the soil which is not fertile, so how you can expect for the good productivity. And even in the some of the area, because if rice and wheat productivity is increasing and everyone is getting benefited from that, so even in some of the area where cultivation of the rice, where cultivation of the wheat is not very suitable, where rice and wheat cultivation is not very suitable, even in that area also farmer will tend to cultivate the rice and wheat. Interestingly, you will find when the Indira Gandhi canal have been constructed, to provide some of the water irrigation facility in the western part of Rajasthan, that is a primarily arid area. So in the arid area, irrigation have been provided, and once the irrigation has been available in that area, the farmers have started cultivating the rice and wheat. So the moment the irrigation became available, the farmers have started cultivating the rice and wheat, irrespective of giving a thought that this is a particularly water intensive crop and it will affect the soil's fertility, productivity. In fact, in most of the peninsula, most of the western part, it's a semi-arid area. So in semi-arid area, it is expected that the dry crops should be cultivated, but because the farmer wants profit, and in that profitable, because wheat is not being cultivable in that area because of the climatic constant, wheat happens to be a rabi crop. So wheat being a rabi crop, it's difficult to cultivate in case of peninsula. So only crop that can be cultivated is rice, but the rice is not being cultivated throughout the year, and also some of the farmers are more interested in the cash crop. So the cash crop which is more suitable in case of peninsula happens to be the cotton, tobacco. But other than the cotton and tobacco, the farmers are very interested because they want to increase their productivity. Not only they want to increase their productivity, the cotton crop happens to be a crop in which there is a more chances of crop loss. So the crop loss is more you can say witnessed in case of cotton. That is why the farmers have shifted to some other crop. Now once the farmer is shifting from the cotton, they are not ready to shift to the ragi, they are not ready to shift to some of the oil seed or pulses. They are more interested in looking out some of the water intensive crop, that is your sugar cane. So over the period of time you will find the sugar cultivation in the peninsula have increased, and once the sugar cultivation have increased, obviously earning will increase, farmers income will increase, the overall agriculture will grow. But when the agriculture is growing, it will also bring lots of ramification to the environment, ecology. So ecological destruction is not only associated with the human's direct action. Even these activity, when the farmer is going and cultivating the rice, because rice cultivation will release some of your methane. So methane is also a greenhouse gas. So it is not only that industrial activity is responsible for the greenhouse gases, or industrial activity is only responsible for the climate change, global warming. Even some of the activity of agriculture is also affecting, because more and more water intensive crop will be cultivated. So it means more water is required. If more water is required, so more energy is required. More energy is required means more burning of the fossil fuel. So almost this is how you need to look out any problem. And whenever you will look out the problems, and if you will incorporate these three distribution, first of all, your answer will look like very good, and other than this, it will be more and more geographical. Now, if you will look out few general things related to agriculture. As far as agriculture is concerned in our country, we have as I said that most of the more than 55% of the population is involved in the agriculture, and agriculture is very important. But as far as India is concerned, still agriculture is having some of the drawbacks, some of the inherent drawback. In that inherent drawback, you need to understand that the majority of the people that are involved in agriculture, they happens to be they have less formal education. So literacy rate is comparatively low. Also, they are less skilled. So in a way, you can say they are unskilled. They have just learned the agriculture through their forefathers, through their parents. So agriculture is being practiced. Agriculture is an economic activity. But in spite of having economic activity, this economic activity is being performed by some of the unskilled labor. And if the unskilled labor is performing the agriculture, obviously the agriculture is being done unscientifically. Agriculture is being done unscientifically. So there are some of the, you can say, inherent drawback in the agriculture. But anyway, whatever the development of in agriculture has happened, how it has happened. Almost by 1950s when the India got freedom, at that time most of our agriculture was rudimentary, the basic form of the agriculture was being practiced, and majority of the agriculture was subsistence farming. Subsistence farming is a farming where agriculture is being done for their own consumption. So agriculture was being done for their own consumption. Almost by 1960, India has been tagged in the worldwide as a begging bowl. So India has been tagged as a begging bowl, which only depends on the other countries through food import. It's a requirement of the food is being fulfilled. In that backdrop, India tried to increase its production of the food grain, and simultaneously there was some development was happening in case of Mexico, and it was being led by a very famous scientist named as Norman Borlaug. So the team of Norman Borlaug was studying some of the modification they have done on the seed, and this seed has given a very enormous, very enhanced output, and they have referred it as HYV, that is high yield variety seed. That HYV seeds has also been incorporated in India, and this HYV seed that has incorporated in India is simply popularly referred as Green Revolution. Now the Green Revolution have been launched. When the Green Revolution have been launched, it has been launched in some particular area. So because at that particular time, we were not having that time frame. The time in which we are looking out the result, that time was very short, and because of that it was not possible to apply to start this program in entire country. So some area have been selected. The question arises that why this Punjab, Haryana and Western UP only, why not some other area? Because these were the area, these happens to be the area where you will not have the best fertile soil, or you will have the water higher amount of rainfall. Because in northern plain in general you will have alluvial soil, but these are the region where you will have the primarily bangar soil. Khadar soil is primarily prevalent in case of your eastern UP, in case of Bihar, in West Bengal. So these are the area where you will find primarily the Khadar soil. Also the eastern UP and Bihar happens to receive higher rainfall. So rainfall is also good. The human resource happens to be in large quantity available in Bihar, in fact in that time period also. But why they have gone with those areas? Because the first crop that have been selected, happens to be your wheat, and this region, the Punjab, Haryana, Western UP, this region what happens to be the region which were very suitable for the cultivation of wheat. So the wheat crop have been selected. The idea was they have followed a kind of a core periphery model. So core periphery model of development they have followed. They thought that this area, that Punjab, Haryana, Western UP, they will become core, and they will almost disperse the growth to the outer area. So, their idea was that growth will disperse, referred as trickle down. So, the idea was that we will develop few of the zone, and in that zone if the development will happen, later on this development will get trickled down. This is referred as trickle down, but ultimately what happened? Development happened in these areas, but this development has not trickled down, rather it has these areas have almost eaten up, they have eaten up all the development from nearby regions. In a way, we call it as a deliberate regional imbalance model of growth. So, we know that there is a regional imbalance. So, some areas are more developed, some areas are less developed. But when we are doing this, so we are definitely trying to convey, we are just trying to convey that that regional imbalance should be more intensified, because in the present time period, if you will witness the Punjab, Haryana, Western UP, you will find these areas are very developed, and it will give you an impression that almost some other areas like Bihar, Eastern UP, those areas are unmatchable. So, those areas are unmatchable. So, higher and higher development is happening in these areas. So, why these areas have been developed? Because we have introduced the green revolution in these areas, and if we have introduced it, means it was a deliberate attempt to create this regional imbalance. But anyway, it has created it has widened the imbalance, the gap between the developed and non-developed. But one thing definitely it has given a very good result was that overall food production have increased. Overall food production have increased manifold in our country. Later on, this green revolution have been launched in the second, some other places, popularly referred as green revolution 2. And second phase of green revolution. In that second phase, the Kaveri basin and the eastern Andhra has been selected. Now, the question has been raised that even when the second phase of the green revolution have been launched, and when the rice have been selected, because initially it was the wheat crop. So, for the wheat crop, it can be understandable that yes, Punjab, Haryana happens to be more suitable. But when the rice is being picked up, then why some of the area like Odisha, some of the area like Bihar, West Bengal, it has been completely left out. So, the green revolution has completely bypassed these regions, and because the green revolution have bypassed these regions, the result is still very much visible in these areas. When you will look out the regions like Eastern UP, Bihar, Odisha, Chhattisgarh, Jharkhand, West Bengal, so the development in that area, is comparatively lesser from the Punjab, Haryana. So, you always need to understand one thing, being a geography student, that most of the time you will have a feeling that industry or industrialization is the way out for the development. There is no denial about it. Throughout the world, you will find most of the powerful countries, most of the best developed countries, they are highly industrialized. So, you will have a feeling that if you want to suggest that how India can be a developed country, so means we need to have a manufacturing giant, we need to develop manufacturing industry, but never ever forget this thing, that industry will only be successful in that area where agriculture is successful. In general. So, for the industry to be successful, agriculture needs to be successful, and this point became more important for the country like India. Because in India, agriculture is not only for the industrialization, agriculture is not only to provide the raw material to the industry. Agriculture successful is also very important because it is also associated with the food security. We are going to be the highest populous country within the next few months. So, by 15 November, we are going to be the highest populous country on this planet, surpassing the China. So, agriculture, obviously it will provide the agricultural produce will provide the raw material for the industry, but also it will provide the food for our population. So, food security is also very important. Alright. So, in general, those areas have been left out and the next level of green revolution have been launched. By last decade of the 20th century, almost in one form or other, entire country, most part of the country, green revolution have been applied, and the green revolution have given a very good result, because whatever the socio-economic development you can see in today's time, in one way or other is associated with the green revolution. Because if you will look out in our country, in the present time period, you will find India is having very good human resource, right? So, we are having very good human resource. Also, our education is very good. Skilling is also one point. Over the period of time, industrialization has also developed. Urban growth, urbanization is happening. Also, we have a very good health care. So, in health sector also there has been a great improvement. But whatever the development, education, health care, skilling, infrastructure, in almost all this sector, the growth is associated with what? In one way or other, you will find the green revolution. Because it was the green revolution only through which farmers have more production. So, majority of the farmers that happens to be small and marginal, because in our country, if you will look out the land holding, so as per land holding you will find in our country 67% of the farmers are very small farmers, 67% of the farmers are marginal farmers, 18% are the small farmers, around 10% of the farmers are semi-medium farmer, 4% farmers are the medium farmers, and around 1% of the farmers are large farmers. These are the farmers which are having less than 1 hectare land holding, less than 2 hectare, more than 1 hectare, or you can say 1 to 2 hectare, 2 to 4 hectare, 4 to 10 hectare, and more than 10 hectare land holding. Now, around 85% farmers are the small and marginal, and if you will include the semi-medium, almost 95%. 95% of the farmers were not having any other means. They were having only one economic asset, and that happens to be the land. So, in the land, when the agriculture, when the crop productivity have increased, they have started having more production. Through the more production, first of all, their requirement, self-requirement have been fulfilled. Once the self-requirement have been fulfilled, they have some surplus, and through this surplus, most of the farmer, because the farmer initially they will have very less, you can say demand, they will have very less choices, expectation. So earlier when the surplus was comparatively low, but whatever the surplus was, they try to sell it in the market and they have tried to look out some other means, because earlier it was only the soil. But along with that, they have started purchasing some of the cattle, some of the buffaloes, and once the cattle and buffaloes they have purchased, now they have the milk. So suddenly the milk production have increased, and once the milk production have increased, all this milk will be sold in the market, and once they will sell the milk in the market, the income have increased. So story has started from the green revolution, introduction of rice and wheat, introduction of HYV seeds. Now it has reached to the more milk production, and once more milk production means selling of the milk, and you will have the surplus income. Once the income has increased of the farmer, suddenly there will be requirement, because when 85% of the population living in the rural area, and in the rural area almost there was very less demand, or you can say no demand. So 15% of the area cannot run the economy. That is why you will find the most of the development in India, why it has started from the 90s itself. Because yes, there is some role of the globalization, privatization, definitely liberalization, but other than the LPG reform, you also need to look out from the lens of the geography, that it is not that LPG anywhere you can just let's say you will have the Sri Lanka and all the problems, all the things is happening, and just go and just introduce the LPG and the things will be good. So LPG will only give the result when you already have some base. So base has been prepared by the green revolution, base has been prepared by when people are having some surplus. So when they were having surplus, they have started investing in education. So education means when they are capable of sending their children, their kids to the school, then there will be demand of the schools. So private school will come into the picture, who will try to provide the services, who will try to provide the best quality education. In rural area also there will be demand in case of, let's say, electronic sector, in case of electric sector, electronics, appliances demand will increases. People wants to construct the houses. So once the house, they want to construct the houses, suddenly the demand of bricks, the demands of cement, demands of iron will increases in that area. People will buy more and more cloths, more and more utensils. So there will be suddenly a demand that will generated, which result into a development of market, hard bazaar. So more urbanization, more semi-urbanization will happen, and when the semi-urbanization is happening, obviously some of the people will start looking, will start shifting from the rural area to particularly urban area. So this entire process of urbanization, the process of migration, the process of specifically the pull factor based migration, the economic based migration, and urbanization, and most of this growth is in the backdrop of green revolution. So when the green revolution have been launched, it has been launched for this particular objective. So over the period of time, you will find, if you will analyze, definitely there has been some of the negative offsets, like it has widened the regional imbalances, but it has given a very good result. Initially it has given a very good result. If it has given initially a very good result, so what is the problem now? Because most of the socio-economic development that we have seen in our country, in one way or other, is associated with the green revolution. But in last few years, what we are witnessing, that the farmers are started feeling like their income has stagnated, or they are not being their demand is not being catered by the government, or they are feeling that government is not working for them. So, whether this the problem that the farmers are facing, or the issues that the farmers are raising, whether that is correct, or what government is saying is about the farmers, whether that view is correct. So, here you need to know, here you need to look out to few things from the rationality point of view, from the geographical point of view. When the green revolution have been launched, so the idea was to just improve the overall production, and in that we have get lots of success. So, there is no denial about it, we got a very good success. But in the present time period, we also have a problem of desertification. We also have problem of soil alkalization. We have soil salinization. Alkalinization, salinization. So, alkaline or saline, salinity and alkalinity of the soil is increasing, and it is primarily associated with the more and more either too much water or very less water. So, wet area, more irrigated area, arid and semi-arid area. Other than this, also you will find problem of deforestation, issues of ecological destruction. You will find the issue of encroachment of wetland, lakes, ponds, so these are some of the issues that is then the very great problem that you must have come across, that crop residue management. Now, the crop residue management is a big challenge for most of the farmers, and majority of this problem is associated with the area where green revolution happens to have given good result. So, primarily these are the problem that is being faced by the farmers of Punjab, Haryana, Western UP. So, farmers of Punjab, Haryana, Western UP are facing all these issues. Along with that, this is the, you can say, from the geographical perspective we will find. Now, tell me, if the soil is becoming more alkaline, so obviously if the soil is becoming more alkaline or saline, so productivity of the soil will decreases. If the soil productivity is decreases, so whatever the fertilizer, whatever the amount of urea, whatever the amount of potash you are going to give to the field, the production of the crop will be more or less stagnant. So, the production of the crop is not going to increase. Similarly, if there is a more and more area of the soil which is turning to be a kind of desert, if the soil is becoming infertile, Almost that is your more or less like it, is it? Then if the farmer, there is a shortening of the cropping season, which I have told you that in the backdrop of climate change, that there is a changing pattern of the gestation. So if there is a shortening period between two crop, between Rabi and Kharif. So farmers have cultivated the rice, and now we have the different kinds of methodology of the harvesting, and in that harvesting most of the only the paddy will be taken up, entire residue will lying over the field itself. So in that process you are having only window of 25 to 30 days, and in that 25 to 30 days you need to manage the crop residue, you need to clear the you need to remove the crop residue from the field, and then you need to prepare the field for the wheat cultivation. Wheat happens to be the very important crop for the entire Punjab, Haryana, Western UP. Now if it is having only 25-30 days window, so farmer can't wait. Farmer is not having the capability. So what they will do, they will start burning. So the stubble burning will happen. Stubble burning, as a geography student, you must be knowing, you must have idea about the soil profile, and in that soil profile the top layer of the soil is referred as O layer. Then you will have the A horizon. O layer is nothing but it's a humus. Humus is the most fertile part of the soil. Whenever you are going to burn the crop, whenever we are going to burn the crop residue, be it you are burning in Punjab, Haryana, or you are burning in case of let's say for shifting cultivation, you are just clearing of the forest vegetation. In any case, whenever there will be some form of burning on the top soil, so some part of the soil will get affected, and if some part of the soil is going to be affected, it will affect the fertility. So when you are going for burning of the crop residue in the soil itself, forget about the issue of increasing the problem of pollution or more and more emission of the carbon dioxide, then the problem of smog, that is a different issue altogether. But if you will just think of, the crops perspective, soil's perspective, already the soil is facing heat, already the soil is becoming more and more less, fertility is going down, and on top of that, if you will do the burning, it will further degrade it. So within that backdrop, what is happening? The farmers, the agricultural growth, agricultural production in these areas are stagnant. Farmers are not ready to look out something else. So what should be the way out? So within that backdrop, the problems, you need to also understand one more thing. A concept of cropping pattern. What is this cropping pattern? Cropping pattern is a spatial concept. So it's a spatial concept. It's a kind of aerial view. So we will take a assessment, we will take up a aerial view, aerial assessment, that which crop is being cultivated, which crop is taking what amount of area. So it's an aerial concept in which the assessment will be done to assess the cultivated area of that particular crop. So what amount of area one particular crop is being dedicated is simply referred as cropping pattern. So in this cropping pattern, you will find before the green revolution, the situation was different, but starting from the time of green revolution, starting from the, you can say, 1960s, 70s, almost over the period of time, 80% of the agricultural land, the net sown area of our country is around 142 million hectare. So 80% of net sown area has been dedicated to the food crops, and in food crops, which food crops? Rice and wheat. So almost 80% of our net sown area is being dedicated to the rice and wheat. And if everyone cultivating rice and wheat, then what will happen to the other things? Because as far as India is concerned, you also need to link up with the food habits. So the kind of food habit we have in our country, in that food habit there is a great importance of oil seeds, because almost throughout the country, north to south, east to west, you will find nowhere the food is being prepared without the oil seeds. So oil is having great importance in Indian way of cooking. So oil seed अगर आपको चाहिए और अगर आपकी production नहीं हो रही, तो definitely things will not be good. On top of that, not only that, even you will find that majority part of population is vegetarian. So majority part of population of our country happens to be the vegetarian, and the vegetarians very important source of protein happens to be the pulses. So pulse is also holding very important role in our particularly country. In that backdrop, over the period of time, focus has been given to the agricultural diversification. This agricultural diversification has been done on the different levels, and most important way of agricultural diversification is through the MSP, minimum support price. So minimum support price for the different crops is being announced, and in that process it is being thought of that if you will have the different approach, if you will have a, if you will increase, if you will hike the prices of crops, so definitely the farmer will be induced, to cultivate that crop more. So this is one way, and it has given some you can say to certain level result. So presently around 40% of our net sown area is dedicated to the rice and wheat. Around 14% area is for the pulses, 13% area for the oil seed. But still you will find the rice and wheat happens to be the most dominant crop. Rice and wheat happens to be the most dominant crop. Rice is not only the dominant crop in our country. In fact, you will be surprised to know that as far as India is concerned, India happens to be the country where the largest area under rice cultivation is being done. So in entire world, the China is second in the overall rice cultivation. For in productivity, in production, China is one, India is second. But in terms of cropping area, India is having the leading area. So yes, over the period of time, it has been done, some of the crop is being cultivated, but here is the solution, or here whenever you will write some of the solution you need to conclude like this. As far as rice and wheat is concerned, there is no problem in the crop. We are not against the crop. When you will write, you are not supposed to be against the crop. You need to know, you need to highlight that rice cultivation, wheat cultivation is good. But what is the time or what is the need of the hour is, first of all, as far as rice cultivation is concerned, we have a different methodology of rice cultivation. Obviously, the rice is being cultivated in different part of the country, in entire part of the country, the highest, the largest cropped area is your rice. Rice is being cultivated in Punjab, Haryana, UP, Bihar, West Bengal, all along the eastern coastal plain, all along the western coastal plain, then northeast India, in some part of Chhattisgarh, in some part of your MP, then you will have Chhattisgarh, Jharkhand, Odisha, Andhra, Telangana, you will have the Tamil Nadu, you will have the Karnataka, you will have the Kerala. So almost an entire part of our country, the rice is being cultivated. But it is mainly the Punjab, Haryana, western UP and some part of your northern Rajasthan where rice is primarily cultivated with the help of irrigation, that is groundwater. So we are utilizing groundwater. So you need to, first of all, we try to convince the farmer to shift to other crops. So in areas where rice is being cultivated, farmers should go for some of the other crop. But in other crop, important is that they should go for the dry crop. It is not that shift from rice and shift to the sugar cane. तो वो भी गलत होगा. So it is not that shift from rice to sugar cane, rather shift from rice to some of the dry crop. Also, as far as rice crop is concerned, we have the different methodology of cultivation. So for the methodology of cultivation, we have the broadcasting method. Then we have the transplantation method. So transplantation method is the method which is being prevalent throughout the country. So this is the time when we need to shift from the transplantation method and we need to look out for the dry seedling rice. Because in the transplantation method, around 3000 liters of water, 3000 liters of water is required for the production of 1 kg of rice. Whereas in case of dry seedling rice, around 2000 liters of water is required for the production of 1 kg of rice. So obviously it is appearing to be very good, बहुत efficient है. But most importantly, जो अगर आपको जानना है, almost in this 3000 liter, we are utilizing 1500 liter through the groundwater and 1500 liter through the rainfall. So this 1500 there is no issue. Here in case of 2000, we are utilizing 500 or let's say 400 through the groundwater and we are utilizing the remaining 1600, 1700 through the rainfall. So here the main advantage, obviously we are saving the water, but most importantly that you need to know, we are not only saving the water but we are primarily saving the groundwater. That is the most important point. The problem is not the rainfall. अगर हमारी कोई रेन फेड क्रॉप है उससे कोई इशू नहीं है. रेनफॉल हमारी कंट्री में इतना सफिशिएंट हो रहा है, इफ एनीवन इज गोइंग फॉर द रेन वाटर इंटेंसिव क्रॉप देयर इज नो इशू, बट द इशू विल स्टार्ट अराइजिंग व्हेन द फार्मर्स इज गोइंग फॉर द irrigation, groundwater they are extracting, because first for the extraction of the groundwater, first of all they are affecting the groundwater, that is groundwater depletion. Other than the groundwater depletion, there will be other issues. The other issue is what? That they will require electricity. So more and more electricity will be used. More and more electricity will use means more and more fossil fuels is being burned. More and more fossil fuel is burned means more and more you will have the pollution. So there will be carbon emission, there will be pollution. So this is the issue that you need to understand, you need to link up. So it is not that the problem with the crop. Never ever try to criticize the crop. Crop is very important. Rice is a staple food. Rice is a staple food for entire Southeast Asia, entire the Asiatic countries, especially South Asia, Southeast Asia and East Asia. Similarly, wheat, there is no problem in the wheat, but most of the wheat is being cultivated through the irrigation, and in irrigation only the groundwater we are using rather than utilizing the rainwater harvesting or through some of the collection of the rainwater. So that is problematic, that is problematic. Of course, we need to focus more and more pulses, we need to focus more and more oil seed. Now, the second is, as far as agriculture is concerned, so in agricultural productivity is low. Now what can be done? If we want to increase the productivity, there is two ways. So for the production, increasing the production in our country and looking out, tackling both the problem, that is the farmers income, employment aspect and the food security aspect, you will have two way out. One way out is increasing land under cultivation. So increasing the area, but you know that when the population is increasing, we have very limited size. In fact, as far as area is concerned, in terms of area, India is 7th largest country. In population, presently we are second and we are going to be first. So population में तो हम 8वें 10वें से पहले पे पहुंच गए, लेकिन एरिया तो बढ़ने वाला नहीं है. एरिया इज अ स्टैटिक थिंग. So area is fixed, and if population is increasing, so the population don't require only food, it also requires shelter. So more and more land is required for the settlement. So settlement के लिए भी land चाहिए. Not only the settlement, we require more land for the infrastructure development, more school, more colleges, more industries, more roads. So we require land for that also. Not only that, even we require land for the forest, because there is a bigger objective to increase our forest cover to 1/3. So in that backdrop, increasing the land, increasing the total cropped area is not possible. So this option is not. So the second option is increasing cropping intensity. So increasing the cropping intensity. Now the question is, what is this cropping intensity? Cropping intensity is simply total cropped area divided by net sown area into 100. So total cropped area divided by net sown area into 100. Presently you will find the total cropped area in our country is around 196 million hectare and the net sown area is around 142 million hectare, and if you will divide, then you will find presently we have around 141% of cropping intensity. So cropping intensity is around 140%. That is the national average. In fact, around 20 UT and states are having more than the 140% cropping intensity. But there are lots of areas where cropping intensity is very low. One very important area where the cropping intensity is very low is northeast. Northeast is the area where we need to develop the agriculture, because when we talk about the agricultural development, we need to remember that until and unless the entire country's agricultural development will there, overall development will not be possible, because northeastern state is having very important role. Almost northeastern states contribution in overall agriculture in our country happens to be 1.5%. So look out the northeastern state size and their contribution. Northeastern state in general you will find they have very big problem, like 85% of the northeastern population living in the rural area. So in general in our country, as per 2011 census, so in general in our country you will find only 69% people are living in the rural area, whereas in case of northeast around 85% people are living in the rural area. So in fact the problem is more, poverty is more. And why this poverty? Because agriculture is not developed. Because we think our earlier thought process was that agriculture means only the conventional crop. Agriculture means only the conventional. So we need to move beyond that, this thought process that agriculture means simply the rice, wheat, sugarcane, cotton or food grain. We need to look out that agriculture doesn't mean that only rice, wheat, sugarcane. We need to look out the plantation agriculture. Why the tea cultivation is only being done at large scale in Darjeeling or in Arunachal Pradesh, in Assam? Why not in the states like Tripura, Meghalaya, Nagaland? Why the rubber cultivation is being only done in case of Tripura? Why not in other states? Why the palm oil cultivation is not being promoted in entire northeastern state? Because entire northeastern state is very much having a scope of palm oil cultivation. So all these aspects you need to look out. So the cropping intensity we need to increase, and the cropping intensity through the increasing cropping intensity, we can check out the problem of low crop productivity and also the farmers' distress. So, there will be few more issues of agriculture, so that we will take up in the next session. Thank you.